What is going on, everyone? A huge thank you for clicking on the video. I greatly appreciate that, as always. Now, today I do have another Nintendo 64 video. However, this time I'm not going to be looking at a ROM hack, and I'm not going to be looking at another port of Pokemon. Instead, I'm going to be looking at an English translated cartridge, and more specifically, I'm going to be looking at a translated copy of Animal Crossing for the Nintendo 64. Alright, yeah, today we're taking a look at Animal Crossing on the 64. For those who don't know, this was actually the last game on the 64 to come out in Japan, so technically we missed the mark on that one, and we didn't get it, at least not until the GameCube version. So we did technically get this, but it was on the GameCube, and that can sometimes run you, 50, 60 bucks, so I thought it might be a neat idea to take a look at a physical cartridge translated version on the 64, something that is maybe a budget alternative. Obviously we're going to be missing out on a few things. There are some differences, which we'll hopefully talk about, but yeah, I thought it might be a neat idea to kind of check out where the series came from. I, like many other people, I'm kind of a new Animal Crossing fan. I didn't get into it until New Horizons came out, like a lot of people, and it did a pretty good job at hooking me. Like I said, I wanted to check out the other entries in the franchise, so I figured, why not check this out? I've seen this floating around a few different places for a while now. It's been on my radar, so I figured we'd go ahead and take a look. Now, I don't actually have a box this time around. I do usually try to have a box, have a whole kind of complete look to the product that we're looking at, but this one didn't come with one, and I did see a few I could have bought separately if I really wanted to do that, but I didn't really love the designs that I saw, and I am a fairly new Animal Crossing fan, so I figured this may be one of those ones I'll just leave without a box. I don't need a box for everything, but there are boxes out there if you are interested. I just decided not to get one this time. But physically speaking, though, without the box, I mean, the game, it looks really great. It looks like an Animal Crossing game. Everybody's just so tiny and cute on there. You gotta love it. The back of the cartridge, of course, everything looks pretty standard. There's really not much else to say about this, I don't think. We usually have a box to look at, but we're a little short-handed this time. So without further ado, I guess we'll go ahead and pop this into the 64, and we'll see if it works. Alright, here we are, and unfortunately, this is some of the only footage that I was able to capture for this game. I'll just go ahead and say straight out the gate that sadly this cart was a dud. I hate to report it, but that is the cold hard facts. I'll just go ahead and kind of walk you through what happened to me. So everything was working just fine. I was able to turn it on, start the profile, talk to everybody, do tasks for the villagers. Everything was great. I could even save and turn it off and turn it back on. Everything was working like a charm. And then sadly, one day I turned it on after about a day and a half of playing, and it would just freeze at the character selection screen. I would try and load in, and it would just essentially crash. I could hear the music, but nothing was progressing. It's very sad. I had kind of convinced myself maybe it was like a user error, like I maybe turned it off early while it was saving, and it maybe corrupted my profile. But I was proven wrong when I tried to make a new character, and I probably got through. I think I got way further in the game, not like super far, but I'd probably played for even longer, like 2 days. And again, same thing, saving, turning it off, everything was working just fine. But then one day after about 2 days of playing, I was getting on, and same thing, it was freezing and crashing at that character selection screen. So that is a little upsetting. Obviously, I did not plan for this to happen, but I do at least anticipate that it always could, and that is also part of the reason why I make these videos. I like to buy these physical carts because I prefer to own them and play them that way. Obviously, an EverDrive is the smarter move if you want to do it that way, but I prefer to have the physical, accessibility to it rather than have it all just dumped onto one cart. But the sad reality is sometimes not all carts are made equally, and I bet there's a very real chance I could pick from a completely different website, different seller, Animal Crossing, and it may work just fine. That could totally happen because they're not made equally. Now, I'll still have a link to all this down below, but I had a whole different tone for this video. I was really excited playing through it because I was going to talk about all the differences between the versions of this game. There's quite a few, and just from the 64 to the GameCube, what I mentioned earlier, there's a number of things different about the game. There's some graphical, obviously, differences, of course. There's some UI differences, just like your clock and things like that. Things just look different. I think we've got technically, since this is a translated copy, I think we're technically going to be getting the Japanese holidays and things like that. So just a whole different vibe. Characters are missing. Blathers is gone. The museum. Pretty sure the Able sisters are gone as well. I was excited to talk about the differences. And technically this is a English translated cart, and I would probably say maybe like 95% of the game was translated from what I played. A lot of the items that you would interact with were still their Japanese text and names, but it really wasn't too much of an issue. You could just obviously preview things and throw them down, but technically that was something that we were going to talk about, but I could go definitely more in depth if I needed to, but since obviously the product that we're taking a look at doesn't really work, I don't really see the point. Alright, that is going to bring us to the end of the video here, and I will again report that sadly this is a dud. We probably don't want to be picking this up. I definitely recommend you guys check out Animal Crossing, like the 64 version. It's really neat to kind of just see where the Animal Crossing series came from, but maybe check that out on an emulator first. I probably would maybe avoid buying a physical cartridge like this. Of course, I did say earlier, EverDrive is always an option if you want to do that as well. I just prefer to own these things physically, and sadly this was a dud, but I buy these so that you don't have to. That's part of the reason why I made this channel. I want everybody to have a chance with these games physically if they want to take that route, because that's the way I want to play. But yeah, this one was not the play. This is my second translated cart. I had a different one on the Sega Genesis, Pulseman. Should check that out as well. Fantastic game. But it worked fine. I had zero issues with Pulseman, so this, if I'm not mistaken, is maybe the first dud video I've had to actually like make on the channel. There was a Pokemon game, I think that was kind of a dud, but it wasn't the physical cartridge. It was more so just the ROM. It was an incomplete game, and so that kind of was a dud. But as far as the physical product kind of messing up, I think this is a first, at least on my channel. So yeah, there's a first time for everything, sadly. So that is going to just about do it for the video, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed the video, despite how it turned out. You know, it was a dud, but I still hope you got something out of it. So if you did, feel free to like the video and subscribe. That would help me out so much. Seriously, it would mean the world to me. And of course, if you have anything that you want to see maybe in the future or any questions, feel free to leave those down below, and I will do my best to get back to you. But until next time, I'll see you all later.